Stop defending CD Projekt Red. Stop defending Cyberpunk 2077. Stop defending bad products. A year ago, I made a video titled Cyberpunk 2077, The Death of Ambition. In that video, I outlined the issues with the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, the bugs, the failed promises, and the corporate greed. I also took time to look at the message that the co-founder of the company, Martin Iwinski, said in relation to the failure of the launch of the game and all the issues that it launched with.
Based on that legacy of genuine and honest communication, you've trusted us and pre-ordered our game. And despite good reviews on PC, the console version of Cyberpunk 2077 did not meet the quality standard we wanted it to meet.
You need to shut the fuck up!
I even said that I believe that initially it wasn't their intention to scam the player base or the consumers by releasing a flawed product. I believe that it was their intention, that it was their true and honest hope that they were going to be releasing a fantastic product to the community. And today, I am on the complete opposite side of that initial opinion. I believe wholeheartedly there is no one at CD Projekt Red that you can trust for the failure that is Cyberpunk 2077. I also understand that a lot of people were pleased with the game. A lot of people have really enjoyed their experience with the game, and that's perfectly fine. My opinion is never ever going to take that away from you. I can't take away your playtime. I can't take away your character build. I can't take away the enjoyment you got from playing the game. But I'm going to be giving you my honest opinion. I believe that the game was a scam. I believe CD Projekt Red bit off more than they can chew, and they thought that they can make this type of game, this type of huge, expansive, multiple branching storyline role-playing game, and they just couldn't. CD Projekt Red had one formula, and that was the only thing they knew how to do. Make The Witcher. Their initial foray into anything that wasn't The Witcher caused them to fall flat on their face in the most embarrassing fashion. Even the character of V from Cyberpunk 2077, the protagonist, the character that you play as, really just acts as if they're just Geralt of Rivia in the future. They have that same monotonistic, gruff attitude about them.
So, what kind of armor are we talking about?
Light, but durable. Can't constrain movement, and I gotta be able to get in it without anybody's help.
That all? Sure it shouldn't be self-cleaning. And how about it wipe your arse after you take a shite in the bushes?
Sounds great. Can you make a suit like that?
It's not a virus, just a little malware. You get used to it eventually.
Screw you.
Will it affect the calibration?
We shall see.
But that's not why we're here. That's not what prompted this video. What prompted this video was the recent, quote-unquote, huge patch to Cyberpunk 2077. Patch 1.5. For the uninitiated, or for those who were so upset by the game they just refused to pay attention to any additional news that came out about the game, Patch 1.5 came with a whole slew of improvements and different features added to the game to try to fix the issues and fulfill some of the promises that were made at launch. Things like the ability to change your character's appearance after the beginning of the game was added in. The ability to have multiple apartments in the city was added to the game. More crowd density and more authentic, intelligent AI interactions with the player with aggressive actions. Better traffic controls and better reactions from AI in vehicles in response to the player's aggression. And other minute changes to make the world feel more lived in, more real. But it isn't enough. It isn't even close to enough. With the patch came a whole new slew of bugs that you would believe that they had already patched out with all of their other patches, but it seems like every time CD Projekt Red fixes one thing in Cyberpunk 2077, they break 5 others. It was really frustrating to see the developers or their media team in the live stream introducing the patch giggle like a bunch of fucking idiots about all the interesting things they were implementing when it was such a nothing burger of a patch.
Can you skip 6 hours forward?
Yeah, so I see that we skipped time to like the middle of the day, and now the streets are actually more full than they were during the night.
Yeah. Crowds and traffic is reloaded.
Oh wow, this Mai just drove over that guy. Poor fella.
Yeah,
I hope he's okay.
Shut up, bitch!
And even during their live presentation, they encountered more bugs. The unfortunate thing is the community is so starved for content and an impactful patch that something as menial as the things that they've added into the game makes it seem like a huge improvement. These are things that should have been in the game from day one. If you are curious, it has been 442 days since the launch of the game at the time of recording of this video. 442 days, and patch 1.5 just launched over a week ago. One of the most frustrating things that CD Projekt Red came out and said before the game released after multiple delays was it runs surprisingly well on last gen consoles. At the time, the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro were the most powerful systems that you could play Cyberpunk 2077 on, and it still ran like trash. To build a bit of backstory, Cyberpunk 2077 was announced in 2012, and at that time it had begun pre-production. At that time, only the base Xbox One and PlayStation 4 were available. Later, full production began in 2016. Even then, the PlayStation 4 Pro was not available to the market until the end of 2016, and the Xbox One X was not available until the middle of 2017. So during the vast majority of the life cycle of the game's development, it was being developed for quote-unquote last-gen systems, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. For them to then come out and say it runs surprisingly well on those consoles is a fucking insult. It shouldn't be surprising how well it runs on those consoles. Once you release it on those consoles, the consoles that were only available during the entire lifespan of the development of the game, the only thing that should come out of your fucking mouth is it runs exactly as expected on those consoles. It runs perfectly on those consoles. It should never come out of your mouth that something runs surprisingly well on the only hardware available at the time. Imagine this metaphor for a moment, if you will. Imagine you are going to a tailor to have a custom suit or dress made for you. You get your measurements done, and then you return to the tailor at a later date and you ask, hey, is my clothing ready? And the tailor says, I think it's going to fit surprisingly well. Would you say, that's perfect? I'm glad that it'd be surprising to you how well it fits. Or would you say, that doesn't make any sense, you were tailoring it specifically for me? It's a bit of a silly analogy, I know, but it kind of explains how ludicrous it is for CD Projekt Red to have made that statement. Moving on to the next point about last gen consoles. In this current patch, there are certain things that last gen consoles did not get. The list of things that last gen consoles did not get were ray trace local shadows, various visual quality improvements, improved crowd reactions, and dual sense controller features. This is a huge problem. This is an unforgivable problem, and let me explain to you exactly why. Before I explain that, let me go ahead and tear down the stupid argument I already know some of you are thinking and are going to parrot in the comments. Oh, just play it on next gen, play it on PC, get an Xbox Series X, get a PS5. You shouldn't be playing it on Xbox One anyway. You shouldn't be playing it on PS4 anyway. It wasn't really designed for that system. It shouldn't have been put out on that system. They should have delayed it. It really is just a next gen game. Let me show you something, you fucking idiot. This is the Cyberpunk 2077 edition of the Xbox One X. The Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro are on similar power levels in terms of hardware. Are you telling me that CD Projekt Red created with Microsoft a special branded Xbox One X and their game couldn't fucking run on the system? How the fuck is that not a scam? That is the most reprehensible thing I could Imagine when it comes to the gaming industry, you create an entire system styled after the game and the fucking game can't run on that system. Don't be an idiot. Of course it was made for last gen. Of course it was designed to run on last gen. They just fucked up and they made a shitty product. Why does this frustrate me so much, you might ask? Why is this so aggravating for me, you might ask? It aggravates me because I'm an empathetic person, and I think it's extremely unfair to people who purchase the game on those consoles to not get the product they expected. There were a plethora of lies in pre-launch material about so many things they expected, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Personally, it doesn't affect me. I have a high-end gaming PC. I have an Xbox Series X. I have a PS5. I have a PS4 Pro. I have an Xbox One X. I have so many things I can play this game on, but I have refused to play this game even after this last patch out of principle, because I find it ridiculously unfair that people who can't play this game, even though it was advertised to them that they would be able to. Look at this special edition box of Cyberpunk 2077 that I own. It literally says Xbox One on it, not Xbox Series X, not wait for next gen, not please play on a high-end PC. It says Xbox One on it. It even says 4K quality on the box. Even current gen Series X and PS5 doesn't get 4K quality. It's been tested, so they've lied again. But the final point I want to make about last gen is a hypothetical, a metaphor, if you will. Think about it this way. If you're not empathetic to all the grown adults that you argue with online about the quality of the game and why they should be playing it on a current gen system or high-end PC, think about it this way. Think about a poor family who wants to give their child something for Christmas. The year Cyberpunk 2077 comes out, and so they do their research because they can't afford much. They look and they find, okay, this game is going to be running on an Xbox One. So they go on Gumtree or Craigslist or Kijiji and they find a seller who is selling their Xbox One X. They buy it for low and they spend their last bit of funny money for their child that year on the one game that they wanted, the game that their child has watched all these trailers for and all this promotional material and the 14-minute gameplay reveal that we're going to be discussing. They've seen all of it and they're like, Mom, this game is going to have so much. If you get this for me, I just need this game. You won't have to buy me any other games for a long time. I'll just keep replaying this one because it'll be so good. So they get it for them. And then the product they get is the product that all of us got. A product that, as it's currently being fixed, they're not releasing some of the updates, some of the more important updates that people have wanted, like more interactive crowds and ray tracing and all these things for that system. That kid got scammed in this hypothetical. That family who only had so much and tried to give that kid a good Christmas got scammed. That's somebody's real life story out there. Out of the millions of people who've bought the game, that is somebody's real life story. And if that doesn't upset you, you're not thinking about it correctly. Finally, we're going to discuss the gameplay presentation and the lies that they told the community and the consumers in that presentation. I want to compare that to another company that was known for a failure of a launch and broken promises. Hello Games and No Man's Sky. Sean Murray with No Man's Sky and Hello Games unfortunately did a press tour before the game was released and confirmed a lot of things that just weren't in the game, unfortunately selling people a dream of what was going to be in the game. But after the release, him and his very, very small development team of less than 20 individuals buckled down, came together and fixed the game. I want you to guess really quickly how long it took them to implement nearly all of the missed promises from the base game into the game. Remember, This most recent patch that we got for Cyberpunk 2077 was 442 days after the release of the game. So take a guess in the comments below really quickly how long you think it took for them to fix most of the issues. The answer is 365 days. Just 1 year for them to release 3 separate huge patches to fix the game. Those patches being the Foundation update, the Pathfinder update, and the Atlas Rises update. And for them to reach a state for the community to praise them as if the lies at launch never happened, it took them 705 days, with No Man's Sky next. So already CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077 have fallen behind No Man's Sky and Hello Games. Understandably, the games are very, very different, and the things that they needed to implement to fix the games are very, very different. But Hello Games had a far smaller development team than CD Projekt Red and a far smaller budget, so I really don't care to hear the excuses. For CD Projekt Red to hit that same level of fixing those broken promises, they would need to completely revitalize the game by November 14th of 2022. And I know you may be thinking, oh, that's plenty of time, but need I remind you, their most recent patch took them 442 days to come out, and it was barely anything. Now let's move into that gameplay presentation and take a look at all of their lies.
In this video, you'll experience a segment of a quest from the middle of the game. We're currently in Pacifica, one of Night City's 6 unique districts. It was designed to be a tourist hotspot within the city. As you can see, this didn't pan out. When uncertainty struck the global economy, investors pulled their funding, leaving most establishments unfinished. It's one of those places where expectations and reality collided, resulting in a heap of disappointment.
Isn't that hilarious? The perfect description for Cyberpunk 2077 in their own deep dive video.
Welcome to the gameplay demo walkthrough of CD Projekt Red's upcoming title, Cyberpunk 2077. A narrative-driven, open-world RPG set in a dark version of the future. Before we start, a small but important disclaimer. The gameplay you're about to see is from a work-in-progress version of the game. Everything you see is potentially subject to change.
This is just a fucking strange statement that a lot of gaming companies make. I don't understand why they make this statement, and I don't understand why it is a practice that they employ. Never show me something I can't have. It makes no sense. If your game doesn't have the capability of looking like this, never show it to me. What you show the consumers should always be worse than what the end product can look like, because at the end, if it looks better than what they saw before, no one's going to complain, but everyone's going to complain if it looks worse.
This is an RPG, so before we get into our appearance, we need to define our backstory. What you choose here will unlock different possibilities later in the game.
Straight up, an over-exaggeration. It barely unlocks more possibilities. Just a few dialogue options here and there, but it isn't really this winding, huge path like they make it seem.
This demo takes place near the beginning of the game. V and her friend Jackie, along with a netrunner named T-Bot, are hired to find and retrieve a missing person, a girl whose locator implant went dark.
Almost clear. Go.
There are literally 0 third-person cutscenes in the game. If you're not looking in a mirror, you're not going to see your character. It's a joke.
Cover! He's moving! Cover! Find cover!
This animation of it shooting through the wall, pretty cool. You literally only ever see it in this mission and never again in the game.
I said step back! PT-133 to control. Patient NC570442 secured. Stimulants being administered, 70 milligrams dopamine, 110 norepinephrine, 800...
This super cool medic team literally never see them again in game. You can kill as many people as you want in the street, they will never ever respond. These are just a few of the things that they lied to us about in game. Overall, I cannot support Cyberpunk 2077 any longer. I have zero faith in it. I refuse to talk about it. I refuse to endorse it until all of these issues are fixed, until all of the lies are rectified, and not only for Series X, PS5 and PC, for Xbox One and PlayStation 4 as well, because they deserve the patches as well. Thanks so much for watching. Behave yourself. Thank you everyone who managed to get this far in the video. I know it was a bit of a more angry video, as it were, but thank you so much for watching all the way through. Please leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind later.